Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business Performance Podcast. Today, it's my distinct pleasure to talk with Jeff Socha of Ark Financial, and he's had a very interesting career. And welcome, Jeff, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Henry. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, Jeff, could you please briefly describe Ark Financial, the type of customers you work with, and the types of services you provide?
Sure thing. So we built this firm to serve successful self-made entrepreneurs who are out there making a difference in the world. So our clients tend to be entrepreneurs who find themselves in the top tax bracket and have a lot of pain around the tax bill they have to write. They tend to be married with children. They also tend to be very generous. Most of our clients are still really in the middle of that hard charging, driving their business forward, growing, and they really need someone to sit next to them, a fiduciary advisor to sit next to them and help them make smarter decisions. Provide them information and analysis that allows them to avoid a few more bad decisions and not leave so many good decisions on the table. So that's really where we come into the picture.
So what's the importance of the quality of the service that you provide to your clients?
I think quality is so much more important than quantity. So if we're really in the business of helping people, what I think happens in our industry in financial services is you end up with people who are more driven to sell a product, sell some insurance or investment portfolio. And so they don't slow down to take the time. You know, part of quality comes with investing the time in the relationship to care enough about the people who are asking us for help to really dig in and do the homework and do the legwork, do the hard work to give them the best advice that they really deserve.
So how do you go about doing that? I mean, it sounds like each customer or client is going to be different, have different needs. So how are you able to be flexible and adjust to delivering the best quality for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I grew up in a family-owned construction business, and I kind of think about it as most financial services is maybe more like, think of like a track home, you know, where they're just kind of, they've got 10 different floor plans and they keep stamping them out, and it's which floor plan do you want, and maybe you get to pick the paint color. But in our business, it's more like custom home building. It's that, you know, the details of your life matter so much that we need to really customize this blueprint for your financial success. So, you know, what that really requires is employing a really solid brain trust of highly talented people with advanced financial degrees and experience who are great problem solvers and project managers to come into your life and understand it, really try to put ourselves into your shoes, and then start to engineer solutions from there to help get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Okay. So when somebody is looking at things, what are one of the biggest myths or misconceptions when it comes to financial advising?
There's a lot of myths out there. Fortunately, I think some of them even tend to be true. You know, most people feel pretty frustrated with the whole industry of financial services, and I think it's really warranted. You know, the majority of people in financial services probably don't have any business even being in the industry or the career, mainly because they are just so focused on selling the client some portfolio or product rather than taking the time to really understand their solution and create custom solutions that solve their problems. So, you know, one of the myths I think is just that financial advisors are just salespeople and not able to help. Unfortunately, that is true probably for the majority of them. However, the part that makes it a myth is that for the select small percentage group of really high quality advisors out there, they can really help someone accelerate and enhance their financial goals through being a strategic partner along the way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know I get approached all the time, and I'm just saying, delete. So, all right. So yeah. So how do you build that trust so you can become that partnering relationship as opposed to just selling.
Yeah, it might sound too simple to be true, but I think it all starts up front in how you structure the relationship, even how you structure it financially. So most professional services, when you think about accountants and attorneys, et cetera, they're out there, charging you by the hour or by the project, and the scope of work is very clearly defined, and you know what you're paying for, and you know what you're getting for your payment. And so what happens in financial services oftentimes is that it's like this free financial plan that's really just an elaborate sales pitch to get you to move some money into this insurance product or investment portfolio. And so setting that engagement up from the beginning and saying, hey, listen, I don't know the answers, and I'm comfortable telling you I don't know the answers, but I'm confident in our problem solving skills. And so if you want to engage us and retain our firm and pay for our time to dig in, and you're just honest and transparent with helping the client understand the time that it takes to put yourself in their shoes and provide a solid set of recommendations, then it just starts to make more sense. They say, okay, this actually makes sense. I'm going to pay you to take the time to do the real work versus this, free financial plan that somehow doesn't feel free when the hard sell comes.
Yeah. So how do you find your customers? Do they come to you, or are you out there shaking trees to see what falls out?
Yeah, the secret to getting new clients for us has definitely been word of mouth. I follow this mantra of focusing on getting better so that our clients will demand that we get bigger. Number of years ago, I just made the decision that if our work wasn't good enough for people to talk about it, and we didn't get any referrals and clients sent our way and introductions, then we just didn't deserve to be in business. And I was willing to take that risk because I think it's true. And so we kind of gave up on prospecting. We don't really get clients from the internet or a marketing event or networking or whatever. Our clients really come from doing great work and having other professionals, other advisors, and our clients appreciate that work enough to talk about it and tell people about us.
So what are the perceived obstacles that you see that prevent you from achieving the success you seek?
Oh man, there are so many obstacles. I don't know where you want to start. I think in a professional services business, probably the biggest and most important challenge or obstacle is in HR. It's in personnel and human resources. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, when you're in a service business, it's all about the people. And so, in today's environment of really low unemployment, it can be challenging to find really top talent. And when you're in a business like ours, where we're working for very successful entrepreneurs on complex financial issues, they not only have to have the right personality traits and the right character, and they don't have to have just the right intangibles, but they also have to really be intelligent. I mean, they have to have the IQ that goes along with the EQ. You know what I mean? So they have to be able to relate to the person, but also have the right amount of knowledge, expertise, and intelligence to solve these complex financial problems. Yeah. So putting together a winning team, I think, is probably the biggest focus of mine is finding the best people and getting integrated into our team. I think one amazing person can change an entire company. So, that's really the focus for me.
Yeah, and I would think in your situation, you would need people that are highly credible, that can speak to these entrepreneurs at the same levels that they can understand and not feel like, well, you don't know what you're talking about at all.
Yeah, it is hard to meet people that understand finance well enough and that really, really just want to serve this clientele and help them. So, you've got to be really open-minded. Your belief system really starts to matter. One of the things that's helped Ark Financial become so successful is just stemming from this belief that I had from the very beginning that just about anything is possible. So when a client says, hey, I want to pay less in taxes, instead of giving them the answer they've heard from other advisors, which is, hey, making a lot of money and paying a lot of tax just go together. That's how it is. Welcome to the club. Instead of giving them some, answer along those lines, we decided to say, well, let's go explore and see if it is possible. I'm willing to believe that there's a way that could be possible that you'll appreciate or that you'll be happy with. And so let's pursue that, and let's employ our problem solving skills to go engineer solutions and research and find ways to give the client what they are wanting, what they are looking for. That is, of course, also in line with the code and all the regulations.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is you go the extra mile, you go way beyond what people or exceed their expectations. So then you can service them and provide the right level.
Yeah, that's fair to say for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you learn your work ethic and the value of a dollar? So did that break up?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Sure. So can you tell us all about how you developed your work ethic and the value of a dollar?
Yeah, my grandfather started an electrical contracting business out in West Texas in 1950. And my dad took that over, and my little brother's running that business now. And from the time I can remember, as far back as, I don't know, 5 years old, or from the time of a little kid, I was going to work, I was going to the shop. At the age of 15, I got a hardship license so I could drive early and start running my own construction crew. At the time, I didn't appreciate it. It just felt like I was in a child slave labor camp. It didn't seem so fun, or like, oh, I'm getting this big life lesson. But, when my parents were just unwilling to let us take the easy way out, or to, let us sleep in, or to let us just focus on having a good time. And they made us go work, and they made us do hard work, and they made us do manual labor, and they made us do a lot of things. Looking back on it, I can realize and appreciate the work ethic that they were teaching and instilling in me, so that I was not afraid of hard work. And in today's society out there in the workforce, that is such a huge differentiator. Mm-hmm. What is more common to see is to people put more work into trying to get out of their work than just embracing it and doing it and sucking it up and saying, yeah, this might not be the most fun thing, but I'm going to embrace it and push through it and get it done. And I'm going to be better and stronger and smarter for it.
Yeah. So I would think it's a fairly common experience when you have parents that instill that type of work ethic, where as a teenager, you're starting to rebel anyhow. It's a tough thing. So how are you going to approach your children when they get to that age?
I plan on doing the same thing. I don't want to give them the easy road either. Understanding that out there in the workforce, that just having true grit, that really tough work ethic, can be such a differentiator. I hope that I'm able to instill that same lesson in my kids, so that when they're adults, they can get out there into the workforce, and they'll have a step above all their competition, just because they're not afraid of the hard work.
Yeah. I know with my sons, they started a lawn mowing business, and they went through the marketing and everything, and that benefited them quite a bit.
Yeah, there's just something to be said for getting over the fact of doing things that you wouldn't normally want to do. When you're in high school and you'd rather sleep in rather than get up and be mowing that first yard when the sun comes up. Yeah. So, just to push yourself, and that's a trait that you see between successful people and unsuccessful people. Is successful people end up forming habits out of doing the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do.
Mhm.
So, it's just that drive that they have to succeed and to win against whatever odds or challenges or pain they might have to overcome.
Yeah, and one of the best pieces of advice that I ever received early on in my career was don't ever turn down work. You know, take the good with the bad.
So I missed the first part of that. I apologize, but
Yeah,
I
I
heard
just said,
don't turn down work.
yeah, yeah. So what I was going to say, because of good bandwidth issues again. So, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever received early on in my career was never to turn down work. Take the good with the bad.
Yeah, I think when you're getting started, you have to do that, especially if you have bills to pay.
Yeah,
So I think that as you mature in business, you learn that taking the bad work can be more harmful than taking no work.
yeah.
So in the beginning, I think the lower you can keep your overhead, your personal expenses, the less income that you're required to have to pay your bills, the more selective you'll be from the beginning. So we have a very simple business mantra that says we do good work for good people for good pay. And it might sound so overly simple, but if one of those things isn't present, then we're not going to be at our best.
Okay. Very good. So you recently had a major milestone occur. So could you please share that with us? What was your biggest success here?
Yeah, so I'm guessing you're referring to what we were talking about earlier, but for the first time, let's see, maybe 9 months ago, we had a billionaire hire our firm to be the lead architect for designing their financial and entity and tax structuring and their expansion in the U.S. And it was a little overwhelming and intimidating when we got that call, kind of thinking, is this really happening? Because I can remember back in the beginning just trying to get anyone to give me the time of day, and being willing to go anywhere and talk to anyone and help them with whatever the issue is, no matter how small the problem was. And so it was a real affirmation of our growth, both as a firm and just in our capabilities and who we are, to have a client of that level call on us and ask for help.
Yeah. It sounded like it pushed you out of your comfort zone there at the beginning.
Yeah, it did. I mean, anytime you take on a project that is way beyond anything that you've done before, it does put you in that uncomfortable place. But what I've found is that in that uncomfortable place is where we end up growing.
Mm.
So most of how this firm has gotten to where it is today is by having those types of opportunities come up and not being afraid to give it a try. I think it's important that we tell the client, hey, we haven't done this before, but we sure would love to try. And so we're honest about it.
Mhm.
And if they give us a chance, then, we can just work as hard as we can, as smart as we can to solve it. And that's where all the learning lessons come from.
Well, this is
When the next one comes around, we're prepared.
yeah. So it's all part of scaling. I mean, sound like what you're doing for the billionaire is what you do for much smaller size clients, but you just enlarge and scale it up.
Yeah. We do find that even as we kind of climb this ladder in the size of clients, it's really interesting how the clients we work for, that clients that are maybe 1/10 of their size,
Mhm.
have the same problems. And so, sometimes adding an extra zero to someone's income or net worth doesn't necessarily mean that the work or the challenges are 10 times as complicated. They might be 10 times bigger, but it's usually the same fundamental financial pieces that we're working on.
So, what does success look like for Jeff Socha?
Well, I really want to make a dent in the financial epidemic in our country. We have a real epidemic out there in that there's a lack of financial education at all levels. And high school, you don't learn about how to manage your money as an individual. Even in college, you might learn about things like accounting, but accountants still call us and ask us for help. So there's not a lot of practical financial education. And so you get out into the workforce, and maybe you're brave enough to go into business for yourself, and maybe you're one of the lucky few that ends up succeeding in business. And you still don't have the financial education that you need. And so you go and you try and hire some financial people, and you hope that they're going to have the knowledge. But there's not a lot of education out there other than the School of Hard Knocks, or having a great mentor, or if your parents happen to be great with it and they could teach you. So then if you're even really ambitious, you might find yourself in politics, in Congress, making laws and policies that affect our finances as a country. And I think you can see from the debt in our country and some of the decisions being made that those congressmen don't have a lot of financial education either.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a real epidemic at all levels, and I would really like to change that. And I think the way that we're going to change it is we really would like to be the predominant financial consulting firm in the country, serving the largest, most successful private companies, so we can have kind of a trickle-down effect. Because if we can come in at that ownership level in these large private companies and help the owner free up cash flow, reduce taxes, right? Improve their accounting and their banking and their investing and insurance and all these things that really affect the free cash flow of the business, they're going to have more resources to hire more people, to reinvest, to grow, to create more opportunities, to expand. And that's going to be good for everyone in the country. So we might not be able to serve every individual in the country, but if we can serve those at the top and help them have that trickle down effect and have the free cash flow to invest in their people, to create more opportunities, and I think we'll be on the right track.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. When he's talking about investing in their people, that's, when you invest in what are those people's capabilities? What can they do? Where are their strengths? Where are their weaknesses? How can they become better? And that's where all the benefits come out from all across the board. It's just not strictly financial.
Yeah, I think human resources and the people that make up your team are the biggest differentiator. I don't know what industry could say that that's not the case. I think of business is not really any different than a sport. So if you like football and you say, well, we're a startup, so we're playing kind of 6-man football or whatever they call it, and it's both ways. And then maybe you get 11 people, but the same 11 people are playing offense, defense, special teams, and then you grow and maybe you have 33 people, and so you can have offense separate from defense, separate from special teams, and then you double again, and now you've got a backup for every position, and you got coaching staff and trainers and managers and all this stuff. But if you want to go win the Super Bowl, right, it's going to come down to having the best people in all those positions.
Right.
So find what makes the best people also matters, because it might not just be, well, I've got the strongest people or I've got the smartest people. It might, be a variety of things.
Sure. And recognizing somebody's capabilities that you can mature, that they may, you see it's investing in the future too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you want to win the Super Bowl and you're like, let's say the New England Patriots, and you have Tom Brady, he's not going to be a quarterback forever.
Yeah.
So you have to start investing in who's the successor, who's going to come behind him, who's going to carry on that legacy that he created, So it has to be the same in business. You have to look around and say, okay, once you get to a certain level of success, what are you doing to kind of create that succession plan that's going to keep it going?
Sure. So, Jeff, are you able to share some measurable outcomes that you and Ark Financial have achieved since 2013?
Some metrics of our success, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like growth or what you've seen in terms of performance improvement. What are you, you don't have to answer this necessarily if it's too confidential. What are you looking at as your key performance indicators that give you a handle on how things are working for you?
Yeah, so one of the indicators that I've looked at year over year is just what is our growth from our revenues. And, when you're a fast growing company, it can consume a lot of cash. So I want to run a profitable organization, but I'm also okay reinvesting into the organization to continue to fuel that growth. And I would say since 2013, we've had probably our lowest growth year was about 50%.
Hmm.
And our highest growth year was actually 2018, where we grew about 150% over 2017. So
Mm,
our
very
growth
good.
from 50 to 150%. And I hope that we can keep that going for another 5 or 10 years. It'll be really great.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. So, what golden nuggets of wisdom do you have that you could share with other people as they go through maybe being entrepreneurs or even in terms of financial advising?
Yeah, we'll break that down into a couple pieces, but I would say for people getting out there that want to be in business for themselves, you really just have to throw out the idea of work smarter, not harder, and you have to do both. You've got to be okay making sacrifices, real sacrifices. It's not going to be easy. That's why it's worth it, though. When you look at most people in the country who have achieved really high levels of success financially, or however you want to define it, most of them are entrepreneurs that have gone out and created something out of nothing. They have brought this business into existence and like birthed it into life. And that is so hard to do. I mean, there's so many challenges, so many sacrifices, so many scary moments, so many people telling you to quit. And you have to have such tenacity and persistence to keep going. And so, just to survive through 10 years, we're about to come up on 10 years in Ark Financial. And, less than 10% of businesses even make it 10 years.
Yeah.
You just have to understand that it's hard. And I think knowing that it's really hard when you get into it, you'll be mentally prepared for sacrificing. And if you keep your head down and you just keep sacrificing and pushing and working harder and smart, you might look up 10 years later and realize you're one of those few that are still in business. And then everyone is looking to you to wonder how you became a overnight success in 10 years.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
some secret sauce.
there,
Yeah.
there is no overnight success. It's just you didn't know about the last 10 years. So so that's what I would say if you're getting into be an entrepreneur. If you're looking for a financial advisor, it is really tough because so many of them are just focused on selling you stuff. So I think first and foremost, the best advisors that I know of are in independent boutique firms. Most of the best advisors that I know don't stay at your national brand retail organizations. So that's one indicator. Another indicator is to ask the person that you might be considering hiring if they have a broker dealer. Broker dealers were kind of the way that investments were sold back in the 80s and even in the 90s in that time frame, where the investments were sold for a commission. Most of the industry has moved beyond that now to where investments are managed for a fee versus sold as a commission. So if they have a broker dealer, then just know their personal compensation incentives are tied to how much they sell.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even want to have that conflict of interest potential in our relationship. So those are a couple things to look out for.
Okay.
But finding the right advisor also comes down to just, is it a personality fit? Do you feel like they can really add value? Are they willing to put their money where their mouth is? Do you feel like they have a process that's going to allow them to invest the time that they need to give you the best advice? So you're looking for that fiduciary advisor who's legally bound to act in your best interest, and they have that real material liability around doing so. And it's hard to find, but it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the case in finding an advisor these days.
Yeah. So the competition's pretty stiff. So when somebody wants to evaluate Ark Financial against your competition, what's the most important question they should be asking?
That's a good question. If somebody's comparing us against their competition, I don't really know what competitors we have out there because I feel like our relationship with our clients is a lot different. However, when clients come in or when potential clients come into the firm, one of the first things that we're looking for is a giant red flag of whether or not we want to take them on is if they have had a financial advisor in the past. And if they come in and they've never had a financial advisor, then it's a huge red flag about whether or not we even take them on as a client. The reason being is that we understand that the overwhelming majority of the industry is not delivering satisfying work to the client. So when they have gone in and had that type of underwhelming experience where they feel let down, it allows them to more quickly notice the difference between our firm and another's. If they come in and they've never had a financial advisor, it's a lot more challenging because they kind of have this utopia, ideal scenario in their mind of this perfect relationship. And so hopefully just right from the beginning, they'll notice our candor, they'll notice our transparency, they'll notice our honesty, they'll notice our authenticity and how we just genuinely care about them and dig in, starting to get to understand them. And it's not about crafting a sales pitch to move some money into a product.
Okay. So you've had now 6, almost 7 years under your belt as Ark Financial. So if you were to start all over today, the company, what behaviors would you keep and what would you do differently?
If I was starting over, what did you said, what would I keep?
Yeah, if you think about, what you've learned over the past 6 and 7 years, what would you do differently than when you started, and what would you keep?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if I was starting over today, I would really focus on the client acquisition side. I would really focus on sources of new clients, such as building really strategic partnership relations with other professional advisors who are working with clients that I wanted to work with. Because if I develop a strategic relationship with an attorney or a CPA or some other trusted advisor, if they represent clients that we want to work with and they can send us a new client once a month or whatever it is, that's exponentially more valuable, and it would free up so much time of hunting down individual clients that would allow us to focus more on just getting better at the work, and it would alleviate a lot of stress in that area. So on the client acquisition side, I would focus there.
Okay.
On the client deliverable side, I would actually start to create the deliverable by design. Instead of just having it evolve over time as well, I know how to do this one thing, so I'm going to help people with that. And then I learned to do another thing and then another thing, and it becomes this like Frankenstein of deliverable where I've just bolted on all these things over the years. I would actually start, with just a blank slate and really design what is the most important thing and what's the most efficient way to deliver it to clients rather than just have it evolve. It would be built more by design from the beginning.
Yeah, I've seen that before. You just keep slapping things up and it grows organically, and now you have something that's totally unwieldy.
Yeah, and it almost makes you think, man, I need to just tear the whole thing apart and then rebuild it. And but when you're growing at the growth rates that we are, we feel like we need to do that every year, because you work for a client at a certain level, and before you know it, you're working for a client at a 10x level above that, and it makes us want to retool and rethink. And so I spend a lot of time working on that.
Okay, could you just hold for a second? Okay, anything else? Okay.
Think of anything. I flushed some water out. You may get a few.
Yeah.
That little air in that line, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Kendall.
No problem. Thank you.
Sorry, Jeff. We have a refrigerator repairman here today to take care of the water line through the ice maker. So he's just wrapping up.
Oh, there you go. I just had to get a new refrigerator delivered yesterday. I thought about getting the old one repaired, and then screw it. It's just for the garage. So just give me whatever the cheapest one they got and slap it in the garage for some drinks.
Okay, so back to the interview. So, okay, we could keep talking, Jeff. We're running out of time, but this has been a fascinating discussion. So how can people get in touch with Jeff Socha and Ark Financial?
Sure. So you can find us and follow us on your favorite social media channel. We'd love to connect with you there. As always, you can come to arkfinancial.com, arkfinancial.com, and engage with us there. And you'll see, any new content that we create will be up and live.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm just fascinated. You've told some fantastic stories today, and I really enjoyed your advice about work ethic and the value of the dollar. That is definitely missing in a lot of businesses today. And I'm sure that our viewers are going to find your story just as fascinating as I did. So thank you so much for your time, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Henry. I appreciate you having me on today.